Good morning, Edoardo. Thanks a lot for your time to come in this value creation video. Welcome.
Thanks. Very nice to meet you again, Saurabh.
Thanks. As you know, in these value creation videos, what we try to do is to take real world challenges and try to provide some solutions to the CEOs and managers of the company, right? And so you are our first guest. And as an investor right now, and the managing partner of Aurora Science, we wanted to know your perspective on a couple of questions. So we'll keep this video very short, maximum 10 minutes or less, so that viewers can watch. So my first question to you is that when you're trying now, it's very easy to ask, what kind of companies you are looking and so on, right? But I'd like to go other way around. I would like to understand what type of companies or leadership style, okay, you would not like to invest.
Well, very nice question. There are lots of reasons for not investing, and typically, in randomly speaking, I would not focus certainly on those companies that have Me Too products, because the valuation is difficult to the value is very difficult to extract. In those companies that have poor leadership, or still have a management team which is mainly academic, or the result of the composition of relationships in a scattered manner, so filling the gaps with people who are not enough skilled for the job. In those companies where the science is not sufficiently tested, and not sufficiently de-risked, so we don't like to see, especially in early stage deals, situations where the scientists do not target the risks from scratch. And also, we do not like to invest in those companies where there are shareholders that have not reached an aligned strategy. This, especially in very early stage, is sometimes a tough job, but shareholders need to be very patient. And if they're willing to cash in, it is really a trouble. So companies with a large composition of business angels, or with crowdfundings, that's a tough situation. Having said this, there are many other situations, of course, where the market is very small, or where we don't see a clear situation from a manufacturing perspective, some specific situations that are not sufficiently targeted, or whether manufacturing or biomarkers, or the clinical, or all the preclinical setting, the development that is not targeted in the right way.
Perfect. Super. Thanks a lot. So now my next question goes to the decision-making process. As I think Aurora has invested in a couple of oncology-based companies. And to just set the background, I would like to state one argument from an oncologist named Azra Raza, who has also written a very excellent book, The First Cell, and I would like all of you to read, if you have time. In one of the chapters, she talks about one complexity scientist called Per Bak, who unfortunately died because of cancer. So Per Bak had developed a let's say a model where he was putting a pile of sand, and as the pile of sand was increasing, at one point of time, one grain of sand could create an avalanche. Okay. Now, that grain of sand was not different than that other pile of the sand in that system. Okay. And And this happened because they argued that the system reaches a very critical stage. After that, a one particular sand can create a lava avalanche. Azra Raza argues or kinds of put the same analogy to the cancer. He says that the grain of the sand that creates an avalanche is kind of very analogous to the first cell, where the cancer happens actually. So in the book, she also argues that the current system in cancer, right? We have been using for the past 40 years slash poison and burn, meaning slashes surgery, poison, he says chemotherapy, and radiation burn. Okay, these three methods for the past 40 years. Whereas for cardiovascular, there has been a lot of improvement, but in cancer, we have not yet improved. And the median life saving of the patient is only 2.5 months. My question to you is that when selecting the investment in oncology, right? And she argues that as the cancer becomes metastatic, it is very very difficult to control the cancer actually. Okay, so the argument she makes is that the only way you could prevent cancer is to nip the first cell, okay, where the cancer happens. And of course, many research have been going on in this particular direction. So my question to you is that when you are selecting investment in oncology based business, right, on one hand side you have a responsibility towards patient, that the median life saving shouldn't be 2.5 months, rather it should be 5 years or 10 years or maybe cure it. You never know actually, right? On the other hand side, you also as an investor and as a finance guy myself, I understand that you have to provide returns, right? So you could, let's say, invest in a company where you exit after, because you're an early stage investor, you get a very nice exit, but this product, finally when reaches the market, doesn't make very lasting impression on the patient, or it doesn't work. Very few patients respond, and maybe again it is in the similar category of the current treatments, for example. How do you balance this, a responsibility toward patients as well as the investor returns that you have to give?
Well, thanks again for the question. First of all, what we try to do is change a bit our perspective. We are looking first to look for drugs that have a chance to go on the market, and then make nice profits. The two things go hand in hand together. Now, concerning your question about metastatic cancer and targeting the first cell, I understand your point. Think that cancer is normally the outcome of a long period of inflammation. So there is a period where prevention can play a role. And if there is constant prevention, or let's say periodic prevention, this cancer can have a chance to be stopped. However, there are many situations where this is not the case. And you have to target primary or secondary cancers, so metastatic cancers. And it is our goal to provide a hope to those patients that are in late stage, in grade 4 cancer. And typically they are metastatic. And so what can you do? Typically, you try to target those companies that have innovative pathways. So really totally new pathways. But you know that cancer is intelligent. So there is always an escape mechanism. So after a few months, a year, or more years, the cancer will find a way to look for an alternative pathway to develop itself. So we try to look for companies that are typically targeting multiple pathways, as well as having a strong priming effect. So they're able to elicit the response of the immune system. So this is a must. And also, the companies that have better chances to go on the market are those that combine well with current treatments, whether already on the market or under development. So putting all this together, it's multiple criteria that focus really like with a laser perspective on single, very, very few companies. You see that very few are left in in a pool like the European community of biotechs, so where we operate. So definitely we have this, we feel this this our this goal, and it is really an objective for us.
Perfect. Thanks a lot. I hope the investment you made, changes patients' life in the future. So, as we are running out of time, just one last quick question. So, I have been talking in these couple of value creation videos about scale. Okay, and in the last video, if you see, I argued that the fundamental properties of a system changes at scale, and I also gave an example of Swiss Canal ship that was got stuck. Okay, and because I love analogies and I would like to use the same analogy to think about the biotech companies. So imagine you have invested in a platform-based companies that could generate every year, let's say one product or two product, right? And that could get into clinics in 1 or 2 years or 3 years down the line, for example. Based on the platform-based perspective, the value creation is that the early, the faster you reach the market, the more value you create, for example. However, as a biotech company, my personal point of view is that there is a limit to which you could kind of start taking products into the clinic, meaning you cannot have, let's say, if you're generating two products every year, you cannot expect to have a biotech company with, let's say, running 5 6 clinical trials, for example, and, in parallel, for example. So my question is that, how would you then advise those CEOs with the platform companies to scale up? Because everybody wants to scale up, right? Biotech company would like to raise more money to get more products in the clinic and create more value, for example. However, there is always a critical state, because and you have a limited amount of time, for example, to work, unless and until you become the next Amgen, Biogen, which is also an evolutionary process. It cannot happen in, let's say, very short period of time. So, what would be your thoughts on this?
Well, it looks like the platform strategy is typically what executive face with the top coals where the platform lies, and the sub coals where the single product lie. And single products can be single companies or part of a pipeline. Now, if you keep top co and sub co in a single box, that becomes it could become, if you generate many subcos, a pipe, let's say a cost generator. So at a certain time, this blows up. And of course, very early stage investors like business angels or early stage VCs or technology transfer funds do not have the financial power to finance these kind of structures, these kind of biotechs. So in very early stage, the value lies in the subcos, so in the single assets. And for a single asset, you can either partner or you can build a new biotech. And once people, let's say investors, either in the biotech on the single asset, a flamingo company, so rely on a single asset, or the platform company managed to partner with a pharma company or another biotech, then you create a return for the topco, the central company, the platform company, and you can generate more assets. I've seen in Europe very few cases of platform strategies, and they are the result of a long process where trust is built with pharma companies and with biotech investors. It takes a lot of time. But first, platform companies have to behave like any biotech company. So you have one or two assets, you develop that, you keep your platform technology in the back, so in your garage, and once you manage to partner, you leverage on this partnership, and then shed value on the platform technology. And there you can also reach examples like partnering with 5 or 10 different technologies, which is incredible. But some companies manage, and also this is the result of a very good network with financial savvy investors on one side, and also the ability of putting together different scientists with different skills to really inject know-how in the technology strategy.
Perfect. Excellent. Thanks a lot, Eduardo, for your time. I wish you a very nice day.
Thank you.